Zack D Films is one of the most popular channels on YouTube, and he is the most popular shorts channel. And fortunately for you guys, I made a channel that is just like his. On this channel, I make 3D animated videos. I make every single part of the video completely by myself, and I'm gonna teach you guys exactly how I make these in-depth 3D animations, kind of like this video. I posted this video a couple days ago, I believe, and it already has around 3 million views, as you can see right here. And yeah, I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to make these highly animated 3D videos. Now we're going to be using Blender for this, and this video is going to be very long and might be boring at sometimes, but it's extremely important for good 3D animating. So feel free to skip through the video if you want to get to a certain part, or if you want to see how I did a certain thing, but I literally go over the entire process of a video. And the video we're going to be creating today is based off of this script on the screen, and throughout the video I'll leave every single line that I'm 3D animating on top of the video just so you can see what you're working with. But let's get straight into it. Alright, so I'm in a brand new world, and the first thing we need to do is to create our scene. So I'm going to click N, and since the video is going to be following, he climbed onto the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness, making him stuck. Alright, so first I'm going to add this guy. You're going to need these 3 add-ons, by the way. I'll put them in the description. Alright, so after I've searched it up on the top in the Blender kit, I'm going to go to the right side and check the free first button. And at the top, you'll see that all these guys are free, and I'm just going to drag one of them onto my scene. And after a little bit of time, I'm going to go to the rendered sequence, and now I should have a sky. Alright, and since we're going to be working with a skyscraper, I'm going to go to the Sketchfab add-on and activate it, and I'm going to search up a skyscraper. But first, I'm going to look up tower to see if that would give me a better result. It doesn't even need to be a tower. It could literally be a building. I'm just going to look up building. That'll probably be better. And since I couldn't find any here, I'm going to go and look up full game ready city, and from experience I know that they have good city buildings, so I'm going to use that. Alright, so I'm going to switch this to cycles. This is a common one that I usually use, the full game ready city buildings, so I'm going to switch it to cycles so I can import it. Alright, and now we have part of our scene. For the tower, we will use this one as our tower. So now we need to add an excavator, so I'm going to look up excavator, and yeah, this one looks good enough, so I'm going to switch it back to cycles again. Alright, and after that's imported, that was actually a pretty heavy import, 90 MB. But anyway, I'm going to click G and move it to where I want it. So I'm going to want it on this building. And I'm going to click right here. I'm going to click rotate actually. I think I could just put it right here, low-key. It doesn't need to be right on the building. So yeah, I'll put this right here. And then in order for the story to make sense, I'm gonna need to make it so that it's going straight up, because on the third line I said that's when he saw the excavator made a perfect ramp to slide down. And as you can see, this isn't a perfect ramp to slide down, so I'm just going to move this a little bit. But first, before I do any of this, I'm going to change my settings. So the video is going to be 1080 by 1920. Change this to 30 FPS. I'm going to move this to my plugins, and then accept. and this will be a video, so I'm going to switch this. Nice. This is perfect. And this first sequence is 172 frames long, which is about like 5 seconds, 5.6 seconds, I believe. And then after that, I'm just going to click Command S, and I'm going to save this project as let's say slide video. Or actually, yeah, no, we'll just do slide. All right, and then now I'm gonna adjust this a little bit actually. Oh. I'm gonna move this up. All right, I'm gonna drag my cursor over only the front of this, and I'm just gonna make sure that I have all of the front side selected. Then I'm gonna rotate it, move it up, and then now it's creating more of a slide, but still I want it to make an even better slope. So now I'm gonna select this part a little bit so that I can make everything really steep. And yeah, now this is like as steep as this part right here, and I'm just gonna reselect all of this. All right, and then I'm gonna move this over here, and then now I have kind of my slide right here. The guy's gonna be sliding down this, and to get rid of this extra stuff right here, I'm just gonna drag over. Oh, I'm gonna drag over it from this angle. All right. Whoops. So you're going to want to make sure that nothing else is selected. So to make sure, you just click G and then move your cursor around. And as you can see, this little part's selected. So I'm going to click Command Z. And I'm just going to redo it. I'll do it piece by piece. So this part I can delete. Let's see. This part I can delete. And this part I can delete. Nice. All right, perfect. I'm gonna save once again. And to make this video a lot easier, I'm gonna click, hold on. I'm gonna click Shift A, Mesh Plane, and I'm gonna move this. I'm just clicking G right now. Okay, I'm just gonna add a huge plane in the background of this, because if I don't, you'll see that whenever I'm editing, if my cursor is like on top of this, it's like pretty nice. Obviously it's normal, but once it goes past this, you'll see like it just goes wild kind of, and I'm like, whoops. So in order to avoid like those mistakes, I'm just gonna click the plane, and then now whenever I click the background, it doesn't go wild. All right, so now that we have our scene, it looks pretty nice. We are going to add the character. So I'm going to go to Human Gen. And for my character today, I will just use, I could just use David and then generate new human. All right. All right, and then once he is imported, I will select G to move him up here so that I can see him a little better. All right, now that we have Jude, I'm gonna click, or not Jude, he was David. I'm gonna make him a little like bigger. So here he can be like that. Okay, and then for the age, 50 is fine. Height, 5'2" is fine. I'm gonna make him 07 skin tone. And then the hair is pretty important. So for the hair, I kind of want to make this video a little funnier. First, let me do the clothing. For the clothing, he's fine wearing just... we'll have him wearing on the road gear, because this looks the most like a construction worker. And then footwear, he can wear a garden boot. And then now, once we look at him, we can edit it a little bit. So we're gonna change it to an orange design. So that looks pretty good. We're gonna add a pattern here. And I'm trying to think what would look the most like a construction worker. Maybe this one. No. This is fine. And construction gear, I'm pretty sure, is just like orange and green. So I'm just going to change these to just random green. This doesn't really matter. I'll make it a little darker. Okay. And then, yeah, that looks pretty nice. And then to make this the same color, I'm just going to click that. And then I'll make it a little darker. And then for the pants, you can just wear black pants. I'll do dark gray. All right, now back to... The boots are fine, by the way. Those are fine. Now back to the hair. I want him to have an afro. As you can see right now, the hair is hidden. So I'm going to do curly afro. And right now it's blonde. So I'll just switch it to... I think that's pretty good, I think. Right now it's like 0.4 and 0.2, so I'm just going to type in 0.4 and 0.2 for his facial hair too. I don't think he has any. And then for the eye, 0.4 and 0.2. And then I want his hair to be a little shorter, so I'm going to go to hair length down here. Make this, oh, that's a little too short. I'm going to make both of them 3.8. That's way too short. I'll just do 0.7. All right, so that looks good. I'll do maybe 0.5 actually. All right, 0.5 for both. That looks pretty good right now, so we'll just stay with that. And then now we're going to rig the character. So you're going to go to pose and then go to rigify. All right, and after clicking rigify, we now have our character in full form. And now it's time to 3D animate him. So we're going to go to the top left and switch this to pose mode. But in order for this to work, obviously you need to click the little boxes and outlines here. If you click the jacket, it's here. Yeah, if you click the jacket right here, it's not going to have the pose mode. Or even if you just click the character, it's not going to have pose mode. But if you click these lines, the outlines right here, you can switch it to pose mode. And we're going to lift this a little up so we can see it better. And now we have our timeline. It's 172 frames long. And the beginning of this is he climbed onto the roof of his excavator. So we're going to have him starting like right here, and we want him like climbing up it. So here we'll have him like stepping onto it to start the video off. So I'm going to move him like right here, and then I'm going to click I, and then this little arrow on the left, and then the drop down, and then there we go. Now we have all of our keyframes for every single one of them. And now we are going to make it so that he is like stepping onto it to start it off. So I'm going to click on the foot outline right here, move it up to like right here, and we will have him tilt it a little this way. So now it'll kind of look like he's actually stepping onto it. And then I'll move his hand. I'm not adding any keyframes yet. I'm just moving him. But in order to add the keyframe, which is what I usually do, I probably should be doing right now. Every time I move something, I click I. And then here, I'll move this right here. I'll move his hand like right here. And then I'm going to select the elbows, but because I can't really like see them right now, I'm just kind of guessing and checking. Like I landed on it right here, but in order to not guess and check, you can just hold down Z and go to wireframe. And then now you can see all of them. Right here is his elbow. So I'll go back to rendered. And then here we go. Back to wireframe to find this one. Here we go. I'll do it in material preview. Okay. I have him looking down a little bit. And if I'm going to start, like, if I'm going to make the camera movement starting right here, I'm going to want it to make it that his knee is not, like, inwards. You know what? I think that's fine, actually. So I'm just going to click Command Z. All right. Now we have our character right here in the starting position, and to begin animating, I'm going to move it around 15 frames because this sequence is going to be at 30 FPS. So as you can see here, now that I'm 15 frames forward, I'm going to make it so that he's actually like stepping upwards. All right, this is about a good height that he'll be standing at. I'll make him lean forward a little bit, or lean backwards a little bit. All right, and then since he is, where's the hand? Okay. Since he's like using his hand to push up the knee, I will animate that into it. So first I'm gonna do the hand first. And the elbows are pretty annoying, so I'm just gonna have to keep reanimating them in the right spot. Okay, there we go. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, he's pushing off his knee, and as of right now, he's not doing that. So we're gonna go to like, we'll go to like 8 frames in and make sure that his hand's still on the knee. And then redo his elbow again. Right there. All right, and now I'm going to work on the right hand. This seems like a lot of work, but really you can get it done in like really quick. So, and it's going to look amazing once it's finished. Just wait for it. All right. So we are 15 frames in right now. I'm just moving it to the correct spot. And when he steps up, I'll have him like his left or his right foot a little further forward. Click I to make sure that keyframe is there. And as you can see, he's still a little leaned far back. So I'm going to select more than one right now. I'm going to select the box and each of his hands. I'm going to hold down Shift. And I'm just going to move him forward. Okay. And a little tip here is that this little like area right here is actually like super helpful, and it's like really nice for like good animations. So we're going to be using that a lot. So as of right now, it's running at 12 frames per second. In order to make it as fast as possible to see what it would look like, you're going to click off of it like a couple of times, and then you're going to hold down Z and go to solid. And then now you can see it's running at like 17 frames. And then if I click on it again, now it's running at 25 frames. So this is about how fast it'll be going. All right, so that's the first animation. Maybe I want to add a little bit more movement, so I'm going to have like right here, he's still going to be leaning forward. I'm going to have him push down a little bit. And then I'm going to move this keyframe. You can ignore this part. But now I'm going to have it so that this right here is going to be leaning forward too. That makes it look way more realistic. So, and I'm going to tilt his head in this direction too. And then right about here, so that it makes a little more sense, I'm just going to move that there. And his elbow's tucked in. Here, I will go back to this viewport now. Now his elbow's tucked in. We're going to get the elbow selected. And then I'm going to move it back outwards. So now I'm just kind of redoing this frame. All right, I'm going to click Command S, make sure to save always. And then now I think we should have the first movement done. There we go. Okay. And then to make sure that all your frames are selected and placed right here, you're going to click A, and then I, and then now as you can see, all the frames are selected on the bottom, or they're placed now. But if you look closely, it looks like he just gets up super fast right after this point. So I'm just going to drag this around 2 frames forward, and then now it'll be a little slower. All right, he climbed onto the roof of his excavator. All right, so we're going to go back to object mode and make it so that he kind of has a harness around him. So we're going to go to Sketchfab. I'm going to look up safety harness, enter. Switch it to cycles and then import it. Okay. And now we have the safety harness right here. So I'm going to move it over here. G. All right. I'm going to switch this back to rendered mode. And switch this back to Eevee. Okay. And then now the safety harness, I'm going to just put it around him somehow. By doing that, I'm going to go to the first frame and wrap it around him. Or actually, I'm going to have it... I'm going to have it in his right hand, actually. So I'm going to make it smaller by clicking S and scaling it down. And as you can see here... Oh, I'm also going to move this over here. There we go. All right, as you can see here. Also, don't click the... If you want to move the entire harness or the entire object, always go to the top right and click the actual name, because then it moves every single thing inside of that object. If I were to just click this and move it, it's like forgetting the buckle and this little thing. So I'm just going to click Command Z right now. Click the little anchorage thing, and then I'm going to wrap it in his hand. So right here, it's in his hand. And we're already a good way of the video done by now, so that's good. All right, so it looks like it's about in his hand. So I'm going to go to the bottom right, Constraints, Add Object Constraint, and click Child of. Okay, what this does is that it kind of glues it to his hand. And then for the target, I want the I want the safety harness to be targeted, or to be a child of the hand. And then I'm going to go to vertex group and look for his right hand. And all right, and now you can see it's all the way over there. So we're just going to click set inverse. And then now it's in his hand as he moves. Perfect. And say you want it to be exactly in his hand as he moves. I'll just do this for an example. You're going to select I as the first keyframe. And as it moves forward, you can see that now it's not really in his hand. So you're just going to move it a little bit to make sure that it's in his hand again. And then you can click I again. All right, I, and then now you can see as it moves, it's in his hand perfectly. All right, now that that's in his hand, I'm gonna go to pose mode, and I'm gonna go another 15 frames out. Right now, this is what it's looking like. This is what the character looks like. He's getting up with a safety harness. All right. And then for now, we're going to have him moving for the next keyframe. We're going to have him, so 15 frames forward, 32. We're going to have him stepping forward again, looking a little more in this direction. So we're going to adjust it once again. Click the little waist box. Move it forward by clicking G. And then click I. I'm going to move the foot, rotate it first. I'm going to click G and kind of mess around until I find the perfect spot that makes sense. All right, perfect. We want him looking in this direction a little more, so I'm going to move him a little more, rotate him. And then kind of move it this way too. All right, so now he's like looking in this direction. And I'm going to go back here and change it so that the head is... I'm going to click X and delete it so that everything's not in the same keyframe order. So he's not moving everything together. This is a little more advanced and makes it more smooth. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to. So I'm going to move this like 4 frames forward. And instead of looking this direction, I'm going to have him look to the left first. So that now when he stands up, he's like that. And as you can see, when he stands up, it's really sharp and kind of a fast movement. So once again, I'm going to go to the waist. And I'm going to go around 4 frames or 5 frames forward. I'm going to click I. And then I'm going to go back here and go around 3 or 4 frames backwards. And once again, this is for more advanced users. And then I'm going to select I, and then I'm going to delete the middle one, or the original one, by clicking X, delete keyframes. And now you can see it's kind of more of a smoother transition. And yeah, now it's time to animate the hands. Okay. The hand can be like right here. I'm going to adjust the elbow a little bit. I'm going to go back to rendered mode to just see what everything looks like. All right. Ignore how that's moving right now. But, yep, right now he's looking that direction. And I want his right foot to be angled a little more this way, so I'm just going to go back here and angle it a little more. I'm going to save once again, Command S, and then now this is what it'll look like. Oh. Perfect. All right. Actually, it can be a little more this way. All right. So he climbed onto the roof of his excavator. We want something really eye-grabbing in the beginning. So his next movement, I'm just going to save all of his keyframes. I'm going to have him look to the left. So I'm going to go forward around 13 to 17 seconds. I'll keep it at 15 for now, so 30 plus 15. All right. So if I move it in this direction, I wonder how it's going to look. Yeah, that kind of looks stiff. So I'm going to have him looking even more in this direction. I'm just going to adjust it so that it makes a little more sense. As you can see, this is a little goofy, so I'm just going to delete it and redo it. There we go. All right. Just adjusting it so that it all makes sense. And you will get better with this as time goes on. All right. Honestly, now that this next keyframe that I just did is done, I think it could low-key be a little faster, because look, right now that half a second is just pretty slow. So I'm going to move all of these frames. I'm going to click I and move them all around like 7 frames forward. All right, so right now he climbed onto the roof of his excavator. And then now I'm going to have him looking to the left, which might take a little more time. So I'm going to go to 18 frames forward, and I'm going to have him looking the other way. Okay. And I'm going to go back here and see what this frame would look like. Okay. So now I'm going to search to the left. You don't need to do that. It's just like a little faster. I'm going to make his head looking to the left now. And then this is where I'm going to get the viewer's attention. So I'm going to have him dropping the safety harness. But first I need to animate the hand. Okay, perfect. Oh, oops. Yeah, if you want to make sure you don't accidentally like select the background, just make sure you're always focused on your cursor's always on your character. All right, now that he's looking that direction, I'm going to click A and save all the frames looking that way. But then he's going to realize he just dropped it right here. So he climbed onto the roof of an excavator when he accidentally dropped it. So like right here, he's going to, let's see. I'm going to make his foot moving on this frame, actually. So I'm just going to go back. There, that looks a little better. All right, and then if he's going to drop it on this frame, I'm going to make it so that he has a reaction to it. So, all right, so he drops it right here. I'm going to have him leaning forward a little bit when he acts. Like, I'll have it so that he actually slips whenever he does it. I'll have him so that he slips, and then that's how he drops it. So Oh, he can slip in this direction. Let's see how it looks right now. Alright, I want that to be faster, so I'm going to click A like that. And then right now, all that looks like it's moving is the foot, so I'm going to make this further down with the hand. And I'm going to make this like that. Okay. And since he's dropping the harness, I'm going to move this over here. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm sure I'll answer it later in the video. Like, if I accidentally went too fast, I'll voice over it in a little bit. Okay. So, I'm going to, once again, select all of those frames. And now it'll look... Oh, whoops. That doesn't look too good. I'm referring to the elbow right now. So I'm just going to select the elbow. If you need help with that, you could just go to this and make sure that it's the forearm _ tweak, and then either your left hand or your right hand. But yeah. There. Okay. So far, this is what it looks like, and now I'm just going to animate him dropping the safety harness. So this is what it looks like. All right. And if you look closely, the safety harness isn't really in his hand, so we'll fix that. And to do that, we'll go back to the safety harness and adjust it so that it's in his hand. This is an annoying glitch, so there, I'll kind of move it to his hand, but still it's not going to be perfect. Let's see what it looks like now. It's a little better. I'm just clicking G and I'm just dragging this around so that it is in his hand better. And then now, man, it's still not in his hand. I'm just going to keep adjusting it. And it doesn't need to be perfect because most of the time it's not even going to be in the video. Yep, that looks good enough. So that's in his hand. And then right here, I wonder if I were to just copy these frames. Yeah, now it's back in his hand a little better. And then, all right, now we're going to animate it so that it falls out of his hand. And that sounds difficult because, as you see, it's just always in his hand no matter where I move it. That's where we're going to go to the right side of the screen and go to Influence. And the last keyframe you selected, go to it and click this little keyframe right here. And then we're going to have him dropping it. So we're going to go around 20 frames out. And we're just going to kind of guess and check to see how quick it'll drop. So now we're going to go 20 frames out, and we're going to drag this down to 0, and then select that as a keyframe again. And since he's dropping it in this direction, we'll just have it all the way down here. And then select I. And then now you'll see it kind of looks like he's dropping it down. There we go. And then as you can see, it's kind of going right, like this way first, and that's pretty annoying. So I'm just gonna go change this to 0. and kind of point it in the same direction that it's falling in. And then now let's see. There we go. So now it looks like he's dropping it. But it looks like he's dropping it a little too quick. So I'm going to just drag these out a little more. I'll drag this out 2 frames, and then I'll drag this out 4 frames. Double of the last one. And then now you can see he's kind of dropping it smoothly. And I'll get to camera in a sec, but first we need to finish the first sequence. Okay. Now that we're in pose mode. Alright, so he's dropping it, but he can't stay in this position, obviously. So we're going to go around 15 keyframes forward so that he realizes he kind of just dropped it. I'm going to make him crouching and looking down in the same area that he just slipped in, or that he just dropped it in. Okay. Once again, I'm just adjusting it so that it looks like he is looking in that direction. I'm going to go to render mode for this so that it looks a little better. So, and by that I mean so that I can just like see the world better. It really doesn't matter what you animate it in, rendered, solid material preview, or wireframe. It's just whatever you prefer. Alright, so I prefer solid because it looks smoother. Ooh, yikes. I'm going to get rid of the right foot because it's sliding with the left foot. That looks really fast for some reason. So it looks like I accidentally made this too fast, so I'm just going to drag it around 4 frames forward. I'm going to go back. And then it's a little choppy right now, so I'm going to go and use this. This one comes in clutch a lot. And make it so that he's still looking down a little bit backwards before he eventually looks forward. And then now it'll look like this. I'll actually have him looking forward right away. He looks like he's dancing. So I'm going to move this out more. Move this out more. And now I'm going to save it once again. Command S. He looks like he's a little more hectic in this one. I'm going to get rid of this keyframe. Alright, and now that he just dropped it, so he climbed into the roof of his excavator. Let's see. He climbed onto the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness, making him stuck. So he dropped the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness. I'm going to have him... I'll have him leaning back and then going like this. So, alright. So since he's going to be walking back a little in disbelief. All right. All right. So now he's walking back. Make sure everything looks normal. And this is just the 3D animating of the character. Like, we're not even, like, we're going to make the video look so much better. All right. And after dragging everything in the right spot, if you do this and then you accidentally click play before you save the icons, no problem. Just click Command Z, click A, I, and then you're good. All right, so it's a little slow, but that's okay because we can add stuff in between. So after he dropped it, I'm going to have him shaking his head and still like leaning down as he's leaning back. That doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to do this. So he's kind of waving his hands like, no. All right, there we go. I'll have this hand pointed in more. Okay. And then, oh, I made a mistake. So these are also supposed to be together. So I'm just going to drag every frame back to the first one. So now, I'm going to drag this further back because I want it to be a little slower. All right, so now it looks like this. But look closely what is going on here. We're going to animate the hands in between frames. G, going to drag it out. G, going to drag it out. Okay, now it looks like that. I'm going to make the head shaking his head no. So boom, boom, boom. Nice. What's going on with this hand right here? All right. Honestly, I want him leaning down a little more right here. So sometimes whenever you select the waist with multiple things, it'll kind of drag everything forward, which is fine. You just got to readjust it. Or you could just do it separately. But now let's see what it looks like. There, that looks good. Command S. I'm going to save everything once again. All right, now let's see what the entire thing looks like so far. Hey, looks nice. Suddenly dropped his safety harness, making him stuck. So, he climbed onto the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness, making him stuck. So, what am I going to do for these frames? All right, so I can have him stepping back down here, kind of like trying to reach it. or just kind of like looking around, not knowing what to do. So first I'm going to animate him walking back a little more, or shaking his head again. So this will be a little quicker. So I'm going to have him slowly lifting his head up. Actually, I'm going to have him looking down a little bit because he'll be shaking his head. The only difference is that I'm just like moving things a little bit. His hands will be kind of outward instead of on top of his head now. There we go. All right. Let's see what it looks like. I'll have him shaking his head really fast. Not too fast, because then it'd look bad. But there we go. I can make these faster too. This is kind of a waste of a second, so I'm gonna make this like 6 seconds and then this, or 6 frames shorter. Actually, I'm gonna make him jumping down here, so yeah, because that'll kind of flow easier into the next one. So we're gonna get him in a jumping position. So quickly, we're gonna literally keep his feet in the same spot, but we're going to move his body. G, rotate. We're gonna make this the original keyframe again. So Command C, Command V. Actually, I'm just gonna rotate it down a little bit. I'm gonna have him looking down. I'm gonna move his hands next too. All right, now this kind of looks bad. Let's see. I can make the head a little slower because it's, look how frantic he looks. He looks so frantic. So I'm just gonna delete one of the keyframes. I'll delete this one and then move this one a little to the center. I'm gonna make him looking a little more toward the front. Now it looks like it's just like not doing anything. I'm gonna have him looking down. And then I'm gonna move this one so he's shaking his head a little more. All right, perfect. I'm gonna move this a couple frames forward so that it's a little slower. And then I'm going to tilt his head up actually so that it looks better when he's jumping. And then I'm going to have him further down because can't really jump that well from this position. All right. A, I, and then I'm going to click Command S or Control S to save it. Now we need to have him jumping in the air. There's 2 ways you could do this. We're going to have him ending up being right here, pretty much in the same position he's in right now. So I'll show you one way first. So if he's going to end up being in this position, I'm just going to drag him over here and just kind of, I would kind of just adjust whatever position he's going to look like right here. Or here, I'll do this. You can either animate him jumping first, so like right here, jumping, like you're gonna have him kind of like this, after he goes like this, and then, let's see, and then after that, you would go like 15 more frames forward and then have him right here. But I'm gonna do this. We're gonna go around 30 frames forward. So we're going to put him in the position right here. And then we're going to have him leaning on top of the thing looking downwards. So in order to do that, we're going to move this one back here. This foot right here. Okay, and then we need to put his hands on top of the machine. And it'll all make sense in a second. I'll show you guys how I'm going to make him jumping. Okay. And I won't have this hand on the machine yet, so I'm just going to keep right there. G. I can have him leaning forward a little bit. So basically, when it comes to just like 3D animating like this, you're just messing around and seeing, whoops, and you're just seeing what works. So if something doesn't look bad, you're just going to be like, oh, if I want the hand over here, just move it over here. And I didn't like how it looked in this animation, I'm going to move it up here. But yeah. Oh, I didn't save any of the frames, so I'm just going to click Command Z. And now that I'm back here, A, I, all right. All right, so now that he is starting to jump right here and then he goes right here, we're going to go to the middle, move this all the way in the air. We can move his entire character all the way in the air. And now we get to animate what he would look like mid-jump. So he's going to be leaning back, kind of like free-falling like that. So we're going to have him leaning back a little bit. Everything lean back. We're going to have his hands in the air. Make sure that the elbows make sense. So this is okay. Now we gotta make feet pointed downwards because he's jumping. A lot of 3D animation is just like physics, not really physics, but just like memory of just what would like a situation look like. All right, A, I. Now this is what he'll look like jumping. Okay. Gonna make it a little quicker. So I'm gonna move this 4 frames and like 8 frames forward. We'll do 6 frames, like around 6 frames. And this 12 frames around here. Maybe a little further back because we don't want him jumping down so quickly. All right, perfect. So now that the speed is good, we got to make sure that everything makes sense. So when he's jumping, you can't jump like that. So I'm going to go 5 frames forward, and I'm going to click both of the feet, shift for both, click on them, and I'm going to drag them. Whoops. Command Z will be your best friend, by the way. And then have it pointing downwards. So now that he looks like he's like jumping off of his toe. There we go. Command S so that it saves. Okay. Perfect. And then I'm going to have him leaning forward to look. So I'm going to go like 15 frames forward for that one. Whatever time frame you're going to be animating in, usually every movement should be around half a second long. So if you're doing 24 frames per second, you're going to be doing 12 FPS. And then 60, you're going to be doing 30 FPS for each time frame. And then okay, we're going to have him looking downward after leaning forward. All right. All right, so this is what it should look like. So let's see how this looks. Perfect. So now that everything looks good, let's review what the entire 3D animation will look like for the first frame, or for the first sequence. So he drops it, and then he jumps down to look around. And then I'm going to go to rendered and see what it looks like. Here, I'll voice over as I do it. He climbed onto the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness. So yeah, that's how it'll look like. Everything looks good. Now we're on to the next step. So the next step is going to be the lighting of the animation. And for that, you're going to click Shift A. Oh, you're going to go to object mode first. Shift A, find the light area, G to move it all the way up here, or you can just use the arrows. But yeah, once it's up there. To make this a lot easier, this is something I learned like 5 months into my 3D animating. To make things a lot easier after it's like a good distance away, instead of just pointing it to him at all times, you can actually go to the right side, make sure the area is selected, the light, and you're going to go to add object constraint and then track to. And then for your target, you're going to be targeting the man, obviously. And you can target like, I usually do like spine 003. And then, yeah, turn up, go to the right side and go to the light bulb and adjust it so that's a pretty good lighting. So that looks pretty good. I'm just clicking G, moving it around. And then you're going to want to make it, this is important, you don't want just one light of direction. So you're going to click Shift D, and now you just duplicated it. And you're going to move it to another side of him. So now here, I'm even going to move it a little more, G. So now it's pointing to him in 2 directions. Perfect. So look at the difference between no lighting and then lighting. And you can only see the lighting in rendered mode. You can't see it in material preview. As you can see, I click it on and off. And you can't see anything. So I'm going to go to rendered. Okay. And we're gonna set these. So this is on the first keyframe. I'm gonna click Shift, click on each one of them, and then I, so that now it's there for the first keyframe. And then now that he stands up, you'll see the top half of him is dark. So to make sure that the top half of him is lighted up, you're just going to click each of them or one of them. I'll show you both of them. So we're going to click each of them first, and then we're going to move them upwards. I'll show you how to do them individually in a second. And then you're just going to click G and just kind of move around until you see it's good lighting. Sometimes you don't even have to do that. But then you're going to click I. And then as you can see, now that on the 16th keyframe, they'll be up here, but on the first keyframe, the lighting will be down here. It tracks it, and it is completely lighted up. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to move one of them. You're just going to click off, and then click whatever one you want to be moving. I'm going to move it to, I'll go to like frame 34. And then I'll go all the way. You'll just click G again and just move it to the left side of him still, or wherever you want the lighting to be. There we go. And then you're going to click I. And then to do the other one, you're going to click on it. You can do a different keyframe you want to move it to. So for this one, if I want to move it to frame like 32, I'm just going to move it, either do this or click G. And then now he has really good lighting again. And then I like it there, so I'm just going to click I right there. And if you accidentally ever click O, it'll get really annoying. It is like one of the most annoying problems in Blender. I'm going to click Command Z to get it in the original spot. But look, every time I move it, it just like is really laggy. It'll move other things with it. To get rid of that, just click O again, or you can see up here, this is supposed to be empty up here, but every time I click O, it lights up. Make sure that it is not lighting up. But I'm going to click Command S and save it again. And I'm just going to keep adjusting these two. I'm going to select both of them at the same time and just kind of make sure that they're both always in the front of him. If I'm moving them together and I don't like it, I can just switch to one of them. I, and G, and then click I again. All right, and then another learning point here is that if you want it to get lighter or darker over time, all you have to do is just select where you want. So just find the frame that you want to start with. If you like the lighting in this, you're going to go to the right side of the screen, go to Power, click this little thing right here, the little keyframe. And then if you want to get darker over time, you just go to whatever frame you want it to get darker by. And then drag this down all the way down to whatever you want. And then click the little keyframe again, and then you'll see it'll get darker. And then to reverse that, you can just go back to wherever you selected the keyframe. Go to the right side and just unclick this. And then now you can see it'll be light again. All right, so the lighting in the beginning is pretty good. I'm going to just quickly finish this. Making sure that it's always on the left side of him. Also, if you don't want to have to click I after every single time you move something, or every time you move his hand or his head or something, you just select this down here, auto keying, so that every time you move an object, it'll automatically key it. I don't personally use this, so I'm going to unclick it, but I know a lot of people who do. I'm going to drag this out a little more so it's a little slower. And then the camera is probably going to be down here if we're going to be focusing on the character. So I'm going to move the lighting downward toward him. Perfect. And then I'm going to click I, so it's just going to stay in that exact same position. And then as he slowly gets up, we're going to have to move the lighting back up here. So, sorry if I'm yapping a lot. All right. And if you guys have literally any questions, I'll answer it as soon as possible in the comments. So just comment if you have a question. I'm going to click Command S so that I save it again. And then as he jumps, you're going to want the lighting at the top of his jump. And as the more you guys practice, the easier and easier it'll get. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So now we got the lighting done. Perfect. Let's see what it looks like. All right. Now it's time for the camera movements. This is the most important part of whatever 3D animation video you're making. So you're going to click this little camera icon as of right now. If it's not in this like iPhone format, remember, make sure to switch, go to the output, make sure it switches to 1080 and then 1920. All right, so you're going to go to View on the right side and then Enable Camera to View. Click it. What this does is it allows you to move the camera around as you're inside of it, instead of if you were to just not click it, then you're just going to it's going to kick you out of it every time. So we're going to enable it. And then make sure the camera's selected in the top right. And then go to camera down here. Go to viewport display and make sure passive part out is at 1. And then you can close that out. And now you can zoom in and out. If you want to be able to see further distances, all you have to do is just change this number. The higher you go, the further you can see, and then the lower you go, the less you can see. I'm going to keep this at 300 right now. And then you're going to find wherever your scene is. So it's over here. And then now we got to animate the first part of it. So we're going to have him starting right here. This is a really nice spot. So I'm going to click I. All right, so now it's going to be starting at this clip. And I'm going to get rid of this area. So to get out of this, I'm just going to click the camera icon. I'm going to get rid of this for now. I'm going to go to the top right and just click the little eyelid. And then now I'm going to go back to this little camera icon. And make sure your camera is selected. Don't forget that. And now that we're at the 14th frame, we want him to be, or we want the camera to be a little higher up. And then once we have it in a position we like, we're just going to click I. And then now as you see, it'll go up with him. And then now he's looking that direction, so we're going to make sure it's still on his face. Like that. And if you want to, you can play with these settings right here. Like right here. I've recently started making my videos at like 46. And so now it's a little more zoomed out. All right. And then, so now we've ran into our first problem. Watch as he looks this way. Our camera goes like up and then around instead of just staying on his face. So to fix this, there's a couple of things we can do. We can go to the right side of the screen, go to constraints, go to add object constraint, click track 2. Make sure the camera is selected, by the way, for all this. And then go to the little pencil icon and make sure your camera is tracking the HG body. What is going on here? Oh, yeah, and then go to vertex group and track it to spine 003 again. And then now he's kind of like in the bottom half of the screen, which is something we don't really like. If you prefer that, obviously you can keep it, but look, now it'll be completely tracked to him. But that's not really what I want. I just kind of want it to just follow him a little more. So you're going to play around with this. I'm actually going to make the camera right here instead. So right now it'll look like this. All right, so we're going to make this around 0.1. So now it'll be tracking it just a little bit. So look, now it's like kind of tracking him more. Okay, and this is all because the influence is at 0.1. All right, and then for the next one, I'm going to have it kind of at this angle. So now he's like this. Even that doesn't even look that good. Okay, so no problem. I'm just going to delete these 2 camera keyframes and kind of change what I want it to look like. If I want to click shift and move it this direction, but I can't because of the influence, just going to switch this to 0 for a sec. Click I, and right now it'll look like this. Alright, I'm just going to play around until I find something I like. Okay, honestly, I might just go back to the original ones. So right now it's like this. And halfway through, we can switch it so that it's more centered, like this. You're usually, in the camera thing, just going to be clicking shift and moving around with it. Or you're just going to click the middle mouse button, just look around. I'm going to set the influence back to 0 and just keep it, or move it right here. And then now it's like this. And then I'm going to set the influence back to like 0.2 or something. Okay. All right, so another problem we ran into, we added way too many keyframes. So we're just going to delete the middle 3 so that we just have the first and ending. All right, that's not even that bad. We're just going to zoom out a little bit so that it's just a little more to his face. And then now we have it like this. A little fast-paced moving, but that's okay. For now, I'm just going to do influence at 0 so that the video is a little easier to follow. So right now it looks like this. And then we got to make sure to add him dropping the safety harness. So move this a little further back. So we'll have him standing up, and then he reaches down. And then I'll zoom it into his face by just going like 10 frames forward. Going back to here. And then right here. All right. All right, so I don't like how it cuts really fast like that, and you can barely see him dropping it. So I'm just gonna get rid of this keyframe in the middle. And I'm gonna just zoom out. All right, and then I'm gonna set the influence to like 0.2 to see what this would all look like. I really don't like this. Watch how it just like cuts back really fast. So to fix that, I'm gonna go more toward the center of these two frames. Or I can go a little further back and just kind of like set random keyframes and then get rid of another random keyframe. And then make sure he's always tracked. There, that's pretty good. Command S. And then to see what it would look like, obviously with the influence on, you're just gonna move it up. All right, perfect. I'm gonna move this back down to 0. And then he's gonna be standing back up. So we're gonna have him looking right here again. And I'm gonna click I. So I set the keyframe there. And now he's like, whoa, what's going on? He's like, oh no. Okay. If it's at all like ever just not tracked to the character without the influence, you're just gonna go to the center of the two keyframes that's happening in and just kind of adjust it so that he's in the middle again. There we go. All right. Let's see how it looks now. I'm going to change this right here so that we can see like the ground a little more. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to see what it would look like if the character, or what, yeah, no, never mind. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. I'm going to move this a little toward this. And I'm going to get rid of this last keyframe. The reason I'm doing that is because he's going to jump right after, and I don't want to have to go from here to back to here. So I'm just going to make it easier. And then going to get rid of this middle keyframe and make it so that he's the center of the attention again. That way it kind of follows the same pattern from this keyframe to this keyframe. All right, now I gotta focus on him jumping, so I'm gonna go over here. All right, now I want this to track him as he jumps. I feel like that would be cool. So I'm gonna set the influence to 0 for now. I'm gonna add a keyframe by going to the right of it and clicking this little dot. And then as he jumps, at the top of his jump, I'm going to make sure it's influence at 100. I'm going to add the keyframe right here. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then click I to save the camera movement. And then to get super advanced, I'm going to go back to this keyframe and make sure this is set 46. I'm going to click the top arrow on my keyboard. That's a little shortcut. And then I'm going to switch this to like a different FOV. So like 35. And then I'm going to set that keyframe right there. I'm going to zoom in again. Oh, whoops. Back arrow, front arrow. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then click I again. And then I'm going to click Command S. Don't forget to save. And then now it'll look like that. So I got to bring it back down here. Like right here. Maybe I should have it like this. Whoops, I accidentally did it. Right there, Command Z. There we go. Now it doesn't even really look like he's jumping. So I'm going to just get rid of this. So get rid of that. Get rid of that keyframe. And now we're back to square one. So I'm just going to go like right here where he's at the top of his jump. And then go, whoops. Back one keyframe, front one keyframe. Okay, so now he's right here again. There, that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to kind of follow the path and have the camera right here. All right, so perfect. Command S. Let's see if I select, or if I click Z, go to solid. Let's see what it would look like in real-time speed. Like everything. So this is what it would look like. Okay, perfect. All right, maybe in the beginning I don't want it to be going in this direction. So maybe I could just... go to this keyframe. So it goes from here to here. I'll get rid of these center two. Go right here. So now he's getting up and like looking around. I could have him right here. Also, if you notice right here, his elbow is inside of him. So I'm going to just go back to pose mode, wireframe, find where his elbow is. Maybe I should move the hand instead. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I could just move the hand. All right, that looks good enough. I'm going to go back to object mode, click the sky, go back to the camera, Z, solid, go to frame one. This is what it would look like. Hold on. There we go. All right, there we go. All right. So there we have it. That is our entire first sequence. But we're still going to be adding more details to it to the end. We're going to be adding the depth of field. So camera. We're going to make every single sequence look like this. like super high quality. I'll render an image so that you guys can see what it looks like. We're also going to be adding the emotions to him. Oh, I'm going to get rid of 1 second. Okay, and then I'll teach you guys how to do this right now. I'm just kind of like messing around. So render image. This is what each keyframe will kind of look like quality wise. So that looks beautiful. If I go 80 frames out or even 30 frames out and look at it, render. I'll teach you guys how to make the depth of field look like perfect. I'll show you guys. Just wait to the end of the video. See how beautiful that looks. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off depth of field. And then I'm going to... Okay. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the animating, and then I will catch you guys up at the last sentence of the script. And then I'll teach you guys the rest of the video and show you guys everything you need to do. So for now, if you want to keep following the script, just play around, practice, and I'll leave the script right here. And yeah, just keep animating and keep doing what I was showing you. Alright, so I've pretty much done the entire animation. I'll show you guys what it looks like right now. I will click Z and go into solid mode. And this is what the entire thing looks like. I also, now that I've done all the animations, I'm just going to play around with the tracking of the camera. But yeah, it looks decent. And then I'm also going to show you guys it. I'm just going to like zoom forward with, hold on, and there's Mr. Beast. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in rendered mode because it looks a little different. As you can see right here, I added the slide. And to make the slide disappear, so I added the slide, and to make it disappear, you click on the material that you want to make disappear. So the slide I've clicked right now. And basically, I'm going to go to this alpha on the right side, and I'm going to move this down. And as you can see, it just disappears the more I move it down. But then after it disappears, you can still see it in like solid mode, like it's still there. So in order, oh whoops, cancel. In order to make it completely disappear, like whenever it's either shown or not shown, you're just gonna click on it, go to the right side, go to object properties, scroll down to visibility, and then you're just gonna go, I'll show you guys what I did. If you want to be able to see it, or if you want to make it disappear, you're first gonna make sure both of these are checked, and then you're going to do a keyframe for both of them, and then you're going to go one frame to the right. And here, I'll redo this. So as you can see right now, you can see it, and then I go one keyframe to the right, and to make it disappear, I just get rid of these two check marks and then do these two keyframes. And then for the light that I did, I'll show you guys, that's what the light looks like. I've never really done this before, but I just tried it out right now. It's basically you just add a light, and you don't want to track it to the character. So right now it's literally tracked to nothing. So I just added the light right here to make sure that it wasn't like shining throughout the whole video. I just added a keyframe that said it's at 0 and clicked the keyframe. That was right here. And then when I wanted it to appear, I obviously just turned up the lighting. And then I just kind of dragged it where I wanted to. I clicked the keyframe. And as you can see, it just traveled all the way down here. And in order to make the light green, I just went to color and just changed it to green. You don't need to add a keyframe for that unless you want to be like switching colors as it goes on. But yeah. Alright, so now it's time for the important parts of the video. Now that I've done all my camera movements, so you guys have seen what it looks like normally. I just showed you guys. But let's see. I'm going to go up to camera, click camera, and I'm going to go to the tracking again. And I'm going to change it to point like 208 or just around there. And now this is what it'll look like, so I can voice over it for you guys. He climbed onto the roof of his excavator when he suddenly dropped his safety harness, making him stuck. And since he was 500 feet high with really strong winds, he had only minutes before falling. That's when he saw that the excavator made a perfect ramp to slide down, and without hesitating, he crawled to the top of the ramp and waited for the wind to boost him forward, sliding him down. And as he slid down the ramp, he began tipping over, barely holding on, when suddenly Mr. Beast... Then, yeah. And I'll show you guys, even if it's in solid mode, you can still do the render image thing to see what it would look like. So I'll do render image. This is what the ending will look like. Yeah, so obviously it's supposed to be funny video, so I just got a low quality Mr. Beast, and to do that I just went on Sketchfab, I logged in, and I just looked up Mr. Beast, and I did Mr. Beast Citizen. I changed this to cycles, and then imported it, and then I switched it back to Eevee, obviously. Alright, but now we're gonna focus on wait, let me see this ending real quick. Okay, so since I want to focus on Mr. Beast at the end, I'm going to kind of get rid of this tracking. So 817, I'm going to move to like 825 and make sure this is at 0. And now it'll stay at focusing on Mr. Beast. Alright, so now it's time to add the emotions of the character. So we're going to go to Human Gen, and we are going to go to Expression. Alright, and so this part seems like a lot, but it'll only take you like a couple minutes, depending on how much detail you want to add. So, Expression. He climbed onto the roof of his excavator, so for this, I'm just going to have him doing kind of just like a normal... just a normal facial expression. I'll do a couple of them and maybe kind of add both of them. So, alright. I have these two for now. And he'll start off like kind of struggling to get onto it. Like right here. In order to change his emotions, you're just going to go to the first frame, select or like type in whatever strength you want. You can always just do this, see what it would look like, and then right arrow, back arrow. And then go like 15 frames forward after you place those keyframes. And then I'm just going to keep him with this same expression right now. And then now I'm going to go like 10 keyframes forward and make him kind of like this. And then if you want to kind of like change something, you can always just unclick this keyframe. If I want it to be the opposite and I want him to get like more relaxed as he climbed on top, I'm going to switch this back to 0. I'm going to make this 1. And then now he kind of like struggles as he's getting up. And he's just kind of looking around. I'll do slightly disgusted. You're going to want to always just kind of be changing the expression, because that'll make it look like a lot better. And then if you want to see what it would look like, you could just do render image. And then it'll give you the rendered image, obviously. I'll move my camera out of the frame for a second. That's what it looks like. And yeah, so it'll just be looking like that. Also, I kind of want to change the hair. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to go to hair again. I'm gonna have him with like I'll have him kind of balding. So I'll do the bald top. And then I'll have him with dark hair and dark eyebrows. Whoa, I don't need all this. So dark eyebrows. And now I'll show you guys what it looks like again, rendered. First, I'm just going to do Command S and save it. Render image. All right. And that's what it looks like. That looks a little better. I'll make this a little smaller too. All right. Now you guys kind of have the gist of it. I'm just going to kind of speed run the facial expressions. I'm going to go back to the emotions or expressions. Okay, I'm going to have them more relaxed, so I'm just going to switch this to like a smile. Okay. And then now right here we got to have them kind of like what? Like, oh no. So I'm going to have them in shock. And to do that, I'm going to do unpleasant surprise. And once you add one, it'll stay at that exact number that you added at until you like add a keyframe. So look, it'll stay at 1 the entire video. Even if I switch it down to like 0, then it'll stay at 0. So you got to kind of go back after you add something and change that. All right. So now I have him kind of panicking. Angry L. 0 to start off. And then now he's like, what? Like, oh no. Okay. All right. And then now he's like, oh crap. All right. And then as he's leaning up, he's going to kind of just have less of a reaction. And then he's going to have to jump. So right before you're about to jump, you're like, so I'm going to have him do that with his face. And since I already know what all these facial expressions look like, I don't really have to keep zooming in on his face and see what it would look like. And then as he jumps, he's going to scream a little bit. And then I can kind of get rid of that. And then after he lands, I can have him back at this. So now he's in shock once again. Looking down. Alright, and as he's falling, I'm going to have him be like, whoa. So I'm always just going to be going like around 15 keyframes forward. But for emotions or expressions, honestly, you can do like 9 seconds forward or 9 frames forward. So I'm going to have slight surprise. He's going to be like, whoa. And then flabbergasted. Where's flabbergasted? There we go. And then I had to go back and change these two to 0. Alright, if you get stuck at all and you're like, why does it look like this? Just go back in your video and see if like the new keyframes you added, if you accidentally forgot to like set one of them to 0 to begin with. And just check like a keyframe, like all these to see if they're like normal. As you can see right here, I didn't really add any keyframes because you can't really see his face. And now he's kind of like, whoa. Mid-fall or mid-leaning back, I'm going to have him kind of panicking. So I'm just going to get rid of the flabbergasted and do an angry yell instead. There we go. And you'll get better at this as time goes on. And then now that he's landed safely, I'm going to get rid of the angry yell. And I'm going to do this one instead. So now he's just like, holy cow. All right, another tip to make your video higher quality. For some reason this works. Blink right, add the blink right, scroll down, add the blink left. And randomly throughout the video, whenever you can see his face, you're just gonna do, so set the blink to 0, add them as a keyframe, go 1, 2, 3 to the right, and then change it to 1, set it as a keyframe, 1, 2, 3 to the right again, and then bring it back to 0 and add a keyframe. The blinking, for some reason, here I'm gonna move all this a little to the right so that it's more visible for his face. For some reason, the blinking makes it like a video more interesting, I guess. It kind of makes the character seem more realistic, I guess. I'm gonna have him also, for these keyframes, kind of just be like shocked a little bit. All right, now, so from frame 333 to 350, this does not matter at all. It's just space in between two sequences. So you can kind of do whatever you want. So what I do is I go to like kind of like, you can literally go from like 333, like right now, I'll just go to 333, place all my keyframes down, and then go to 350, and then now I'm just gonna kind of restart and see what keyframes I would do as this for the next sequence. So 350, the sentence is, that's when he saw that the excavator made a perfect ramp to slide down. So I'll have him just like kind of like with only that expression. And then I'll have it added into this. And then once he sees it, he'll be like, whoa. So I'll add this one, put this to 0. And then to make him shocked, you're just going to go like 5 or 6 keyframes forward because it's kind of a faster motion. I'm going to get rid of this, make the slight surprise a little more, and the happy. And maybe even flabbergasted a little bit. So now you'll see he goes from like that to like, ooh, like that. And then as the camera turns around, just makes it so that his facial expression kind of changes. So now when he turns around, you can't even see his facial expression. So I'm not even going to do anything until like, now that it's kind of going over there, I'm just going to add all these sequences again before I start editing his face again. All right, and then now I'm going to have him be kind of like nervous once again. So just like right here. It's really bright right there, so I'm going to change the lighting. Add this as a keyframe, and then over here the lighting's fine, so I'm going to add this. And then in the middle, wherever it's really bright, I'm going to lower this. So 28, add that as a keyframe, and now it's kind of looks a little better. All right, and I'm just keeping him at kind of a nervous look. And then as he looks down, I'm going to have him kind of getting nervous again, or scared. And then, can you see his face a lot right here? I'm going to have him blinking again. So 2 blinking, 1, 2, 3. Blink, blink. 1, 2, 3. And then, yeah. So now he's blinking again. Let's see what this looks like. All right, and right before he slides down, I'm going to have him with almost no facial expression, so that whenever he starts sliding down, he's like, whoa. Flabbergasted. We could just do that. And then, okay, since now he's like scared because he's falling down, I'm just gonna replace flabbergasted with this. And then I'm gonna have him look more angry, so I'm just gonna add the angry. Go back, set this at 0. That didn't even really do anything, whatever. But then now that he falls, honestly, I'm gonna get rid of, wait, kind of want to change the color of this to match the other colors. So gonna get rid of this material. The way I did that was I just clicked to the X next to the material. I went to the material properties. Gonna click this X, and now it's just no material, it's just plain white. And then I'm gonna click new, click on base color, and then to match the color, I'm gonna click on this little pencil, which basically any color you select, it'll just change it to it. I will change it to this. Perfect. And I'm also gonna do that to the side right here. Oh, whoops. There we go. Honestly, I want to make it a little dark. Nah, it's fine, whatever. I'll just do it. I'll make both of them a little darker. Whoa, what do I have selected? Okay. Yeah, just making them a little darker. All right, perfect. I'm trying to think what I like more. Honestly, I like the light better, so I'm just gonna do Command Z until it does the light again. All right. And now he just did that, and you can't really see his face, so I'm just gonna make it so he's not screaming because he just fell. And now it kind of turns into worry. The script is as he slid down the ramp, he began tipping over, barely holding on. So this is the barely holding on part. So I'm gonna have him worried. And then as he's falling down, I'm gonna have him screaming a little bit. And then a little bit forward, he stops screaming. Or honestly, I think that looks good. I'll add all these keyframes so that I can, for no reason, I can just, you don't really need this. And then I'm gonna have him, instead of screaming and all that, I'm just gonna do this. Now you can't see his facial expression anymore, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so that's, I'm gonna click Command S. That's how you add the facial expressions. Now time for the last but most important part of the video, and honestly my favorite part of the video because it's like kind of the easiest. You're gonna go to the top right, go to camera. I'm gonna close this out. And this is where we're gonna add the depth of field. But first we're gonna go to view, and we're gonna uncheck this camera to view and close that out. And now we're just gonna zoom in, click shift and drag until you can see the face really clearly. And we're on the first frame right now. So we're gonna click the depth of field, click the drop down, and you're just gonna keep adjusting it until you are focused completely on the character, on his face. So like that. I usually click the up arrow because it just jumps to the next keyframe, and then I'm just gonna adjust it again so that his face is clear. Okay. Okay. And this will look a lot clearer whenever you're zoomed out. You guys are going to see it makes such a big difference. It'll look so clean. That one's already good. And I'll just show you guys right now what it would look like rendered. So I'm going to go back to like this keyframe. Render an image. Okay. Perfect. And then find out where I was right here. And then, okay, after I'm done with everything, I'll show you guys what the entire video looks like rendered in case you guys are wondering. Sometimes after I render an entire project, I notice that I don't like something in the video, or something's like a little too fast or too slow. So then in that case, I just re-render. I go back, fix it, and re-render the entire video. However, now I've been doing something where I right-click on the file or the video before I go and re-render it. Whoops. Before I go and re-render it. And I duplicate it in case I like that one better than the new one I'm rendering. I'm going to go in the middle here because it's missing a couple keyframes. Honestly, I don't even think I need to change this, do I? No, I don't. Okay. How is this? Actually, I'm going to change this to 2.1 again. Or, yeah, 2.062. Going to click Command S, save once again. Yeah, basically you're just going to adjust it so that it's like as high quality as it can get on wherever you're adjusting it to. All right. And you don't need to do every keyframe, just do whatever feels right. Okay. We're already almost like, or we're already like almost a third of the way through, I think. But, alright, so in some areas you don't want to have the guy highlighted. Or in some of the areas you don't want to add depth of field of all at all. And so you're not gonna unclick this. Instead, if you don't want anything, if you don't want like, say like frame 289 to 300, if you don't want that as a depth of field, you're just going to add this as a keyframe, go a couple frames forward, and move this f-stop all the way up to like, I usually like 16 or something. And then that looks kind of good. I'm going to go to the middle. Anytime there's a big gap, I like going in the middle and just seeing what it would look like. Or what it looks like. Come a little bit closer, you might turn so big and so strong. Right. Alright, so I'll show you guys right here. So I don't want the character highlighted right now. I want this in the background highlighted. So you can either just change the depth of field so that the background, like down here, is visible. And that's what I'll do for now because the character isn't really that close to the camera. And make sure that it's focused on that. Or instead of playing around with this focus distance, you can like just not do the keyframes for those two. And when did the f-stop get added to 12.8? This is usually at 2.8. Alright, so say you want the slide to be visible and the character to be visible and like not be blurry. You're going to place your frame right here, move this up, and then now everything's visible, even stuff down here. So, and then you just add the keyframe, and then when you want the character, you just click this and then change it back to 2.8. But for now, I'm going to get rid of these because I think it would look better without it. Okay. All right. And the reason why I didn't record my other 3D animation sequences, like the entire 3D animating process, is because the video would literally be like 4 hours long. Longer, way longer than that, actually. I sometimes like go into extra detail, so it takes a lot longer. Alright, once again, if you want to see what a frame looks like I kind of want to see what this would look like. I feel like it would actually be like cool. Like it would be cool for a profile picture. Render image. I'll move this to the side. That looks sick. That actually looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Alright. And then now we're way more than halfway done. So we're almost done. Just keep clicking that up arrow and adjusting it so that the face is visible. Because the face is going to be like the main attraction of the video. Like, it doesn't really matter if the shirt's blurry here. Because we're not going to be watching for the shirt. And then... Hey, yo. We're almost to the end. I'm going to click Command S. And make sure it's focusing on his face. Okay. Dude, I didn't even realize I was so... What am I doing? I'm so close to the camera. That looks fine. I'm gonna go in the middle. That looks fine too. Okay. If you want to tell how Blender is crashing, usually your cursor will just be like a little, like the little loading thingy, and it literally won't stop doing it. And the only way to get rid of it from my experience, is literally just going to the bottom and closing out the application. You can't even close it out in the top left. Like, and then you have to redo everything from the last time you saved. All right. So now that I'm going to be focusing on Mr. Beast here, I'm going to switch. I'm going to add the last depth of view or depth of field keyframe right here. And I'm going to add the f-stop right here. I'm going to go like 8 or 9 or 10 frames forward. I'll go like 11. Change the f-stop to like 16. And then now you can see the character and Mr. Beast with perfect quality. All right, that's that. And now it's time to render. It looks like everything looks fine. Make sure your project is saved. I usually just go back to view and click camera to view again. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but to render, we're going to be rendering an EV, 16, this checked, this unchecked, 64, this checked. That's always just there already. We're going to make sure 1080, 1920, 100, 11, 30 FPS, starting at 1, going all the way to frame 832. Just to be safe so that I have enough room in the video, like I don't want it to like accidentally be short and you can barely see the ending. I'm going to go from 832 actually just to like 839 or 840 and then Command S once again. And then that'll change right here. We're going to make sure that this is in somewhere where we want it to be saved to. So say you open it here, but you don't want it to be saved here and you want it to be saved in your Blender file. You're going to go to plugins, or not plugins, whatever folder you want. And then you're just going to click accept. Since I already did that, I'm going to click cancel. Make sure that this is set at FFmpeg video. I don't know if this matters. This one's always blue though. And then this one is set at MPEG 4 instead of Mistraska. I might have already gone over that in the beginning. But yeah, once everything's good, we're just going to render it. And the rendering should take like anywhere from like an hour to like 5 hours. For this one, if you're only rigging one character, usually it should be quick. It should take like an hour or two. But if you're like animating more than one character, then it'll probably take around like 5 hours. I don't know why, but yeah. And to render, you just go to render and do render animation now, and it's going to take a long time. So all right, so I finished rendering the video. I was kind of off on my prediction. It actually took like 30 minutes to render, so that's nice. And now that everything is fully done, let's see what it looks like. It's pretty smooth. Okay, and there we go. So yeah, it's pretty smooth. But yeah, it looks pretty smooth. So that is it for the 3D animating. If you want to finish the video off, you're obviously going to have to do a voiceover, the actual video editing, and yeah, and then that's pretty much it for the animating. If you have any questions, let me know, and if this helped at all, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.